don't fucking laugh. The ending never fails to make me cry. This movie to me was Star Wars before Star Wars. Fuck, stop acting! After making the movie, you got postpartum depression. I have a tendency to melodrama. I'm Mexican. Jesus, this movie is a cathedral for me. It's the most perfect action movie ever made. But George Miller is a genius. I mean, the way he stages the action is staggering. When you are a director, and one of the first things you do, and why you own media, is because you want to break down the movie. You need to know what is the master shot, what is the coverage, how did he do it. You can notice a second camera. That's how you learn film. That's how you learn to direct film, by breaking down somebody else's. The 1 to 3 minute masters that Spielberg does, the way Miller uses subliminal cuts, the way he breaks the axis. You know, the movie opens and he drops the axis on side of the car. When he grabs the charger, then shifts the speeds is the other side. You know, and the axis is broken in the middle of the action and you never get lost. I think that's the main thing. Action has to be chaotic enough to feel real and clear enough for the audience to be able to follow it. This is a masterpiece. And I must say, I mean, if I left all prestige behind and I was just a fucking visceral Mexican and the world was about to explode, this would be probably I would be very tempted to find anything else, but this would be probably one of the 3 movies I would wrap my body around and shield the explosion so it would be intact. And then Taxi Driver, also a movie that transformed me.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
I mean, my uncle took me to movies that were for older people. I was very young. He took me to 2001 and he said, do you understand what it's about? And I said, yes, evolution. I said, I'll take you to Taxi Driver. So he took me to Taxi Driver. And for me, it's a monster movie because De Niro is sort of an anomaly. It's a study in urban isolation. So it's really interesting that we follow him. It's very tricky to follow the wrong guy. We do it in Frankenstein. I mean, I made Victor sort of psychopathic guy, but it's good to follow him. And you know, the same trick was done in Eddington, Ari Aster. You follow the wrong guy, and then he starts going completely nuts. But it's too late. You're already there. And the ending is one of the most ambiguous endings. Is it a dream? And using the mirror to shift is. I mean, Scorsese is one of the top 5 masters of the craft in the history of the medium. And we owe him so much. And he pushed the language. You know, there's a lot of quirks that he adopted that they were not in the vocabulary. And he's a cinematic encyclopedia, you know. This movie to me was Star Wars before Star Wars. I had a whole dressing closet in my parents' house that I turned into an ape city. And I had 50, 60 figures of Planet of the Apes. That's my first Super 8, was me moving the figures by hand and stop motion, killing each other and all that. And I would charge my young brother. I would say, I'll charge you $1 for a game with explosives, $2 if I have to put makeup effects. I did makeup effects with plasticine. And I said, and if you want the deluxe version, I light it. So I was making movies before making movies that way. And John Chambers, who sculpted the makeup, is one of the great makeup artists in the history of the medium. He worked for the CIA. If you see Argo, that's John Chambers. He used to make disguises for CIA spies. And he also did repair work for war victims. So his touch was very realistic. He was not a creature guy, really. He did some creatures in Night Gallery, the TV series, but he was truly a man that strived for realism. And the way he blends the face of the apes with the actors is fantastic. You know, and the Jerry Goldsmith score, I mean, monumental. To this day, you hear it and it's modern. I love the sequel, Beneath. as much as I love the first one, I know it's cheap and is not, you're not supposed to like it, but I love the mutants and that they're worshiping the bomb. That's a branch of the American government for sure, you know. And there's a lot of people in power that want to bring the end of the world. So, you know, Beneath the Planet of the Apes is really tremendous. This is, I mean, Jim is my brother. We became brothers about 30-something years ago. I met him in 1991 or 92. Instantly, we liked each other. I don't know why he liked me. I know why I liked him, because he's a genius. I lived in his house for a long time. We would watch anime together. He introduced me to Pat Labor. I introduced him to Battle Angel. He helped me sell Kronos when nobody wanted back then, and he said, you know, I'm going to get you an agent to sell it, which I do. I pass it along. Just last week I helped a stop-motion movie to get an agent and sell it, and I got them distribution. But he's been dreaming about that since I met him. He was already talking about Avatar in the 90s. So we talked about it. He dreamt about it. I've seen the 3 Avatars. They are absolutely masterpieces for me. I know where it's going, and it'll surprise a lot of people.
You saw the 3rd?
Yeah, and I think, I can't say anything, but I can say very clearly that there are very few Americans that have created a full mythology, you know? You have Lucas, you have the whole Wizard of Oz mythology by Frank Baum, blah, blah, and Jim is creating that with Avatar. It's going to take you places. He also was helpful with the kidnapping of my father. People say, oh, he loaned him $1 million. No. He hired the negotiator, $250,000. He paid for the negotiator. We paid him back. But the day they took my dad, I called him. And he said, I'm sending a negotiator from the UK. Follow his instructions. And he was instrumental. And then he wanted to fly the ransom with U.S. Marines. You know, Jim likes adventure.
Whoa.
You know, that's why he goes to the bottom of the ocean and all that, while I go to a burger stand and a taco stand. And this is another compadre of mine, Alejandro. This is such a magnificent movie. It's a meditation, and it's a meditation on violence, revenge, survival, fatherhood, nature, so many things. Alejandro is the most talented of the 3. Alfonso and I agree that he's naturally talented. Alfonso and I agree that we gotta work really hard, but Alejandro is just gifted, you know. And Alejandro, you put him in the desert, and 3 weeks later he has fans. Alfonso and I, we gotta work a lot more. Don't get me wrong, Alfonso is a genius, but in terms of just effortless seduction of intellect, Alejandro is superior to us, I think, and this is one of his best movies. I like Birdman more myself, but I admire this. This is sort of you know, Belatar or Tarkovsky, or his rhythms are different, and Emmanuel Lubezki's cinematography is breathtaking. This is I used to be able to recite this entire movie by memory.
Satan is ever ready to seduce us with sensual delights.
I had it on a clamshell VHS, and I wore it down. I've been trying for decades to have it released in the, you know, in the uncensored version or the censored version, whichever, but in a really good release in America, 4K. It would be fantastic. You know, to me, the sequence that is forbidden is interesting, but the movie as it is fantastic. Somebody really doesn't want this released. Seriously. I don't know. If I knew, it would be released. You know, but I know there's almost like a mandate not to release it. It came on a digital form on Apple TV for half a day. Somebody made a mistake and it came out. And I bought it 3 times. You know?
Seriously?
Yeah, I bought it 3 times with 3 different accounts. So I do have it in my computer. But then there is this disc, and there is a great disc from the BFI that does a great job about trying to restore stuff. Ken Russell was unique. I think that Women in Love is astounding. Only in Women in Love he has some sobriety. The rest of the time what he has is an energy that nobody else has. When people see Baroque filmmaking, they think it's easier. It isn't. When you see Baz Luhrmann or Ken Russell bet 50 on the house, you have to sustain it. You have to let the Safdies in Uncut Gems. Extremely hard. Tonally, once you put your bets on that number, you're fucked. You have to keep it and escalate it. And it needs to feel organic. You know, when you make tables for a living, when you're a carpenter, which a director is a craftsman, you know when somebody's delivering something exceptional. Ken Russell, The Devils, one of the greatest movies, and are directed by Derek Jarman. Astounding, because the art direction is theatrical, operatic, very modern. We did that on Frankenstein too, with the lab, because it needed to feel modern. They don't know they live in the past. So Derek Jarman bets on a black and white art directing that is almost futuristic, because that's how they felt back then. The mistake in a period movie is to make it a period movie. So, you know, you try to find the garishness, the thing that is going to tell the audience that is modern, and that is what Jarman and Russell do. We used it also on Frankenstein. I said to Oscar Isaac, you have to be Oliver Reed pitch.
The body can transcend its purpose. It can become a thing of such purity.
I had determined that the memory of my evils should die with me.
Because it's a pitch nobody else has. Oliver Reed has a swarthy, sweaty, urgent, vulnerable, bombastic mixture. This side of Orson Welles. You know, Welles is bombastic.
That's a mistake that will be corrected one of these days.
Oliver Reed goes 2 steps forward. The devil is a liar and the father of lies.
The devil is a liar and the father of lies.
And it's all that tremor and, you know, and that's what I said to Oscar. That's Victor. We went for a tone that is very difficult. This is, again, a unique film. I mean, Friedkin was a genius, and I'm very, very happy to say he was a very good friend. And I was with him in his last movie. I was his PA. The insurance requires a younger director to be there every day in case anything goes wrong with a person of age. And what I did with Billy was bring him his orange juice, bring him his protein bars, bring him his coffee. I didn't open my mouth. We just chatted about family, this and that, but I was watching him. One day I said, are you covering this from the other side? And he said, why? I said, well, the Axis. And he says, you like The Exorcist? Yes, I joined the Axis. I'll be silent for the rest of the shoot. But serving him was so beautiful. You know, I helped him out of the car. I helped him into the car. Every day I would be with him, make sure he was warm. And I loved Billy. Billy was such a passionate filmmaker, never censored. He truly, truly did not give a fuck, and he did give a fuck. He said when we had the first meeting with the actors, he said, all of you guys get one take. You learn the movie as if it was a play. If I run for 20 minutes, you don't stop. And everybody laughed. And he said, don't fucking laugh. I mean it. You have to run this fucking movie like a play. And he did. And if he gave a second take to anyone, it was a miracle. And he would often say, fuck, stop acting, say the fucking thing. You know, it's not a line, you're thinking it. And one day, an actor was very nervous. He was reciting on the course of the ship nearing the storm, and he would always stop in the same sentence. And he was take 1, take 2, take 3, take 4, take 5. And Billy pulled him aside and I said, oh my God, this is going to be a massacre. And Billy said, would you like to come back later or try it tomorrow? And I said, can I try it tomorrow? I said, let's move on. So he was a very wise person. He had a great memory for art. We connected through that because people think I watch movies when I make movies. I actually like to see painters and illustrators when I make movies. And, Billy was the same way. We could talk about painting for a long, long time. And he was full of anecdotes, some of which I cannot tell. So this and a Zoom call and Saltburn made me go with Jacob Elordi for The Creature. I always cast eyes because 50% of my movie is being looked at, 50% is looking at something. If you have faces, you have a movie. And Jacob's eyes were so heartbreaking. And in Saltburn, he can go from being the victim to being an aloof, arrogant, callous, pampered boy, you know? In this one, there's a scene where Elvis loses his patience, and he throws, I think, a chair at Priscilla. And it was so startling. I said, hey, so he can do the rage of the creature. And then I called him, and we were in the Zoom, and his eyes, I immediately saw those eyes, and I went, every other 14-year-old girl, I just went, that's the guy. But the level of complexity that he has as an actor, how much he demands of himself, this is one of the great actors working today. You have Gary Cooper, but you also have Marlon Brando in there. This is a great actor, a magnificent friend, and to me, I was blessed to get the creature that way.
We can go into the other section if you want.
I see, yes. This is a great Hitchcock.
I'm going to drive. That's understood.
A lot of people talk about precision on the shower murder scene or this and that. This contains, first of all, it is a very peculiar film in my opinion. This is nobody's opinion but mine. Because I think everything that Hitchcock used in the Gothic romance of Rebecca, he applies here. This is actually a spy era Gothic romance. It's a woman falling in love with a man that has actually a very dark side. That's why he introduces Cary Grant from behind, without seeing his face, which is a recourse he's going to use later in Suspicion, at the end when he puts his hand over Joan Fontaine. If you think about it, some of the staples of Gothic romance is a mansion, which is here, the Nazi lair, a secret in a cellar or in a cave, the bottle with uranium, the poisoning of the heroine, which is here, and the rescue by the dashing hero.
Sit up. I've got to get you out of here.
That scene when they're coming down the steps is so precise. He has a number of steps to do the whole thing. He has to cut to a POV, he has to cut to them coming down. It's mathematically perfect, that scene. High precision filmmaking. And I was talking to Kim Novak in Venice. We had dinner and she told me a story that I very much should apply to this. She said that when Jimmy Stewart and her were climbing the staircase in Vertigo, Hitchcock had a metronome. And he would say between 12 and 14, stop and look up. Between 17 and 19, pause. And he gave them a whole, almost musical instruction for the camera and them to be coordinated. I believe that's true also of this sequence in the staircase. And, it's a little bit of him spreading his wings without Selznick. I mean, Selznick was so castrating to Hitchcock that he ended up satirizing him on as the killer in Rear Window. He looks like Selznick. And Selznick, I don't have a great opinion of him. I think the myth of the genius producer is something I'm yet to encounter in real life. And, maybe it's true. I don't know. Maybe one day. Vertigo, I think that Vertigo is only experienced, sadly, in the theater. I saw Vertigo when it was released on VHS or re-released by Universal, and I liked it. But I didn't understand what was the big deal. I was very young. Then I saw it in a theater, and I realized I had never seen it. The same thing happened to me with 2001. Seeing it in a theater was good, but seeing it in Cinerama, I realized I'd never seen it. What is very incredible about this movie is the pacing. Driving around the city just with Herman's music, it is almost hypnotic. And it has left a great legacy amongst many things. Park Chan-wook, I think this is his church. I mean, if you see Decision to Leave, if you see all his movies, there's some Vertigo. Old Boy has some Vertigo elements of obsession and erotic darkness in it. To me, is probably one of the top 5 movies ever made, which leads me to the other ones. City Lights. I mean, it's very hip to say you prefer Buster Keaton than Chaplin. It's like the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. You always sound like a rebel. But, Chaplin did depend on a lot of people. Chaplin got gags written by Keaton. Stan Laurel created some gags for Chaplin also. Stan Laurel, to me, is one of the most superb gag writers and writers of comedy in the history of film. But, the thing with Chaplin, you either like that he wants you to like him or not. Buster Keaton is there and says, fuck you, you don't like me, I don't care. Chaplin begs you to like him. This is a perfect perfect mixture of comedy and melodrama. The ending never fails to make me cry. And the precision of the gags in City Lights is so elegant. And you know, I think he's one of the great perfectionists. Keaton is muscular. You know, when I think of Keaton, I think of Gene Kelly dancing.
Dancing in the rain.
Chaplin is more elfin, like Fred Astaire, more ethereal, more delicate, but equally precise. You know, and I'm going to be completely on hip, and I say I love this movie. Will always love it. Changed my life. I have a tendency to melodrama. I'm Mexican. I got it. So if you watch my movies, there's a lot of Chaplin-esque melodrama in Shape of Water, in Frankenstein, in Devil's Backbone, etc., etc. But I think he's a genius, and it's pure cinema. Freaks.
I like to take them into the sunshine and let them play like children.
There never has been and will never be another movie like this. If I'm not mistaken, I think that he starts developing it around 27. He uses the success of Dracula to cash the check. And he goes for the freakiest movie, no pun intended, he can make. Now, Browning was a very interesting cat. He ran with the carnivals. He was a carny. Now, carnies are ruthless. They have their own language, they have their own code, they have their own ethics, and many of his short films are set in carnivals. He had a kinship, an incredible relationship with Lon Chaney, and his melodramas are this lurid, swarthy, feverish pulp. But I think he was a great director. This movie basically destroyed him in many ways. It was assembled with real oddities. You know, the casting director traveled through America. He looked on carnivals and everywhere to find them one by one, and is so fascinating. They live with me in my house. I have life-size statues in silicone of them. So Hans is there in the entrance with a razor blade, and then Cuckoo the Bird Girl is on the second floor. Schlitzie waits at the stairs. Johnny Eck is in the dining room. This movie, all of my life as a kid, I wanted to live with them. So now I do. In Bleak House, there is a whole coterie. And the movie, some people say, oh, it's exploitation of handicapped people. It's ruthless. It's both. Nobody that has been in a carnival understands carny life like Browning did. And it's very, very simple to see that he's not on the side of the normal people. He's on the side of the freaks. This movie changed my life. When I was in my teens, I went to a cinema club. When I was in my teens, that was the thing to do before video clubs. I ran one with a few friends. We would get 16mm copies of film. I would project, I would sell the tickets, I would do the debate. I said, good morning, good night, you know, we're going to discuss this movie and this is the context. And it was a way to study film. And I went to the Goethe Institute, the German institute, and they were projecting this on 16mm. And I just saw the possibility of talking about my country in a brutal way. When Buñuel made this, it was a time where the pastoral beauty of Mexico was being celebrated by Emilio Hernandez. The muralists were celebrating the greatness of Mexico and the forward progress of the left and this and that. And the government's stance was very progressive. Mexico is moving into the next century, blah, blah, blah. And Buñuel showed brutality and absolutely sardonic wit on this. And it is legendary that he almost got his eyes clawed out on the premiere. They hated him. Buñuel, when a movie is bad in Mexico, you say it's a churro, which is a friture. And there's another friture called buñuelo. And they would say, there are no more churros, now we have buñuelos. I believe his Mexican period is his best period, no offense to France. El Bruto, Viridiana, Los Olvidados, Susana, El, his masterpiece according to me. This changed my life. I said, I can make movies in Mexico. And originally I didn't want to make movies anywhere else, but you know, I owed $250,000 in credit for Kronos. So I had to. Now this...
La Belle et la Bête.
Dieu, vous avez du sang partout. Pardon.
You wanted to make a version, right, of the Beauty and the Beast?
I wanted to. You know, mostly because the original literature work is very different. I mean, it's gigantic. People know the short story, but there are further sequels to it that are deranged, where the beast turns into a prince, and then Belle is challenged and say, who are you to marry him? And she has to prove herself and becomes a warrior. I mean, there's all sorts of things that I thought, well, I think I can do one that is not, you know, is not competing with something completely different. But this is the masterpiece of fantasy cinema. He knows the alphabet of magic and cinema, and he uses it brilliantly. And the only thing that everybody feels, and I feel, is I don't want the beast to become human. That's so boring. Jean Marat, his eyes are so powerful. I cast eyes in my movies, and his eyes are unique. Michael Shannon, who is in Shape of Water, I wanted him as the beast, because he's sort of a Middle America version of those eyes, you know. He looks like Jean Marat. In my version, he didn't turn into the human.
Yeah,
I didn't want to.
In the Disney version, some fans of the film, some of the audience saying that then when they rewatch the Disney version, they can see the deception in Belle's eyes when the beast is turning into human. I mean, I'm all for the monsters. I root for them. I root for them to get everything. It's unlike any other film ever made, including Cocteau's. I think this is his masterpiece, and a masterpiece that we all own gleefully. Well, there's deep hand. You were a member of the jury.
Yeah, I was, and one of the two presidents of the jury, you're not supposed to discuss details, so I will be ambiguous, but he said, isn't it great when you get two movies, an art house movie and an exploitation movie, and they're the same movie? So this movie is worth twice our attention. And we loved it. We loved it. I think the art is really, really one of the most gifted storytellers, always taking risks. This is such a powerful movie because you do get an art house movie and an exploitation B movie at the end. So to have the artful cinematic direction and then the big explosion release, I like it.
It was the Coens brothers.
Yes, they were the presidents. Yeah. I love them. I just want to say I love Stan Laurel. I mean, I love Oliver Hardy, but Stan Laurel is one of the few people that I'm very, very sad I never got to meet. He lived down the street from where I live now, and I have a couple of the letters that he wrote. He wrote everyone. He answered every fan letter, so I wish I had met him.
I love you. I love you.
I wanted to ask you, what is your relationship with this kind of places, and more specifically with the physical edition of films like DVDs and Blu-rays?
Well, I own around 8,000 or 9,000 physical editions, so I love it. I think it's important not to be depending on a digital download and a company, streaming companies, to control what you watch and what you don't watch. I think that there's ultimately, owning a film physically is like owning a book. And then there's rare movies that never came out on DVD or Blu-ray. I have the Laser, I have the VHS, and I have one Betamax, which is the original cut, the original release of Frankenstein. And it's horrible. It looks really bad.
You have a sort of a collectioner because you have your Bleak House, you have pieces and arts of films.
Yes.
What does this mean to you, to really collect things from your career and from the films that you've made?
Well, when you collect, you don't own anything, because I bought the things from people that had them before me. So if I own a piece of art, it was somebody's before. And that person either died or divorced or anything tragic like that, and it ends up selling and I end up getting it, but I'm going to die. I already divorced, so one day that will be passed to somebody else. So you just care for it. And I think collecting is a guardianship. You protect the piece of art until somebody else is going to get it. I just like objects. So I often pay for the props on my movies out of my pocket so I can own them at the end.
You have some of Frankenstein's films?
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Well, we can go in order. This is not the cut I like.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
When they restored him throwing Maria, It was very painful for me, and they never done the original release. That scene actually was a moment of rift between Karloff and Whale, because Karloff didn't want to throw Maria, and he tried to find a way to justify it in the behavior of the creature. The relationship between Karloff and Whale was very tense. Him lifting Maria so many times also worsened his back condition that pursued him all the way to the end of his life. But I think that is the clash between Whale and Karloff that produces the movie, because Karloff is more humanistic. If you see Whale directed Waterloo Bridge, his version is very hard, and it ends horribly. I won't spoil it, you watch it. And that's Whale. Whale is more sardonic. You see the old dark house.
Don't move!
The Invisible Man.
He's here! The Invisible Man!
That's more Whale. Whale with Karloff is this. So Karloff comes in with a humanistic, beautiful performance like no other. And beatific. When I saw him at 7 years old, it was on a Sunday after church. And I saw him and I said, that's Jesus for me. Everybody likes the other guy in the cross. I like this guy. And he became my Messiah. So that's why at age 11, when I read the book, I wanted to make that movie in Super 8. And it stayed with me all the years. It was going to be a way to talk about my father and me. Then it became a way to talk about my father and me and my kids. Then it became a way to make a Catholic riff on it. It evolved with me, and I finally made it. Now it's out. No, the original is not based on the book. People think it's based on the book, but actually the original is based on a play that was, I believe, published in 1927, 1928. That is the one that creates all the confusion between the monster and the doctor, because in that play, the monster is called Frankenstein. So people say, oh, it's something that happened in pop culture. No, no, no. The play is to blame. The play was not really very good, but it was very popular, and Universal got the rights to that. Then Bride comes in.
Woman, friend, why?
And Bride picks up passages from the book and adds a lot more Whale this time. It's more sardonic, it's more humorous. In many ways, it's aesthetically superior. Remember, when Frankenstein came out, the genre had not been invented. Basically, Universal had a big hit with Dracula, made a lot of money, and they said, we should do this. By that time, Browning was already on the way to do Freaks. They got Frankenstein, another massive success, and then they started putting out horror films, and eventually the horror became a genre, really. This is so beautiful, and is so modern, and is so edgy, that to this day is, in terms of design of shots and the humor and the horror of it and the pathos, one of my favorite movies. But most people, they don't link it to the book, but it's linked to the book, and then a lot of people think of Gene Hackman on Young Frankenstein, which is also based mostly on Son of Frankenstein, the third great Universal movie. It's an amazing movie, and if you haven't seen it, see it. It's a movie that was based on, directed by a man that was very prone to improvisation. So, you know, it was very good for Bela Lugosi, Son of Frankenstein, because he kept him employed for months and months and months. They went over budget, over schedule. Great movie. Everything on Young Frankenstein, the artificial arm, the wardrobe of Gene Wilder, comes from there, so watch it. This, you know, of all the Hammers, what I like is Peter Cushing. You know, the doctor is played as a sociopath. He kills his father to inherit the money to be able to pursue his experiments. And, you know, this is one of the lesser movies in some ways, but in some ways it's one of the great ones. It has a lot of pathos, a lot of brutality. Dave Prowse, who will play Darth Vader, is a monster. I love that movie.
Now that you've made the film, how are you feeling? Are you proud? Are you relieved?
After making the movie, you got postpartum depression. After making the movie, the director always gets sick. In this case, it's gigantic, but, you know, it's like you have the kid. So now you have to send him out into the world, and that's what I'm doing. I think the movie exceeded my expectations. Everybody was great. It's the best time I've ever had in a movie. And at the same time, it changed something in my life, which I still don't know what it did.
Konbini!